بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد وآله وأصحابه البررة الطاهرين. مقدمة Introduction. هذا اختصار وترجمة لكتاب التبصير في الدين. This is a summarization and translation of giving insight into the religion. At-Tafsiru fi Din, giving insight into the religion, and distinguishing the saved sect from the doomed sects. So right away, you already know that there's things in the Arabic that aren't in the English and things in the English that aren't in the Arabic. It's not very literal translation. And on purpose, it's like that. So like here, this is not the entire full title here. At-Tafsiru fi Din, giving insight into the religion and distinguishing the saved sect from the doomed sects. التبصير في الدين وتمييز الفرقة الناجية عن الفرق الهالكين لأبي المظفر الأسفرايني with fatha there by Abul-Mudhaffar Al Isfarayiniyy with an I there, so you can say it with a kasra, who died in the year 471 after the Hijrah, so it's after the Salaf. الذي وضعه على مذهب البغدادي في الفرق بين الفرق. It is itself a summary, or is modeled after Al-Farqu Baynal-Firaq by Al-Baghdadiyy. It is a summary of Al-Farqu Baynal-Firaq, and it is modeled after Al-Farqu Baynal-Firaq. It's not a summary in the sense that he just took the words of the author and shaved them down only. He didn't stick to the words of the author. He didn't stick to everything and everything, yani, it's its own book. But it is, for all intents and purposes, as they say, a summary of Al-Farqu Baynal-Firaq. It has many manuscripts, a number of different manuscripts. So there's all sorts of variations in the different manuscripts of the Arabic text. حُذِفَ مِنْهُ بَعْضُ التَّكْرَارِ تَسْهِيلًا لِدِرَاسَتِهِ. Repetition and some extra statements were removed to make it easier to study. وَغُيِّرَ شَيْءٌ مِنْ تَرْتِيبِهِ لِتُفْتَحَ كُنُوزُ عُلُومِهِ. There is some rearrangement of information so to open the treasures of knowledge that are locked away in the original. Yani, there's a significant rearrangement here. This book of ours, which is a summary of At-Tafsiru fi Din, does not follow the sequence of At-Tafsiru fi Din as far as the chapters are concerned. Yani, the sequence that we came to is what I came to in working on this, and then seeing I'll put this here, I'll put this there, etc., like that. Not based on a prior plan or idea. I'm going to arrange the book like this. But in the process of working on the book, that's how I saw the sequence that the book had, that the chapters have now. That's how I saw to put them as I was going along. لِتُفْتَحَ كُنُوزُ عُلُومِهِ, so to open the treasures of knowledge that are locked away in the original. Because if you take the original book as it is, then, and this is my experience, then if you're not very familiar with the subjects of this book and with the history, the people, etc., then, yani, if your experience would be like my experience, like you're waiting for something to open for you. So you won't wait for something to open for you here with this book. It's going to open right away. وَتَيْسِيرًا لِتَدْرِيسِهِ, and to make it easier to teach also. وَمِنْ تَعْبِيرِهِ, some terms were also reworded. غُيِّرَ, وغير شيء من ترتيبه ومن تعبيره. Some terms were also reworded to be closer to what our Shaykh deems accurate. ليكون أقرب إلى تحقيق شيخنا. It means that this book, what's very nice about it is that its source is a classical work of Ahlus-Sunnah, but it's been polished by the method of Shaykh Abdullah Al-Harari, rahimahullah ta'ala. So anything that's, whenever something's, the Shaykh would have said it not like the way the author said it, and we said it the way the Shaykh would say it. اسم الكتاب تمييز أهل السنة والجماعة من فرق أهل البدعة والضلالة أو Tanwirut-Tabsir. The book's name is Distinguishing Ahlus-Sunnah Wal-Jamaʿah from the Factions of Ahlul-Bidďah Wad-Dalalah, or it's called Tanwirut-Tabsir. As for the first title, Distinguishing Ahlus-Sunnah Wal-Jamaʿah from the Factions of Ahlul-Bidďah Wad-Dalalah, it has in it tamyiz, this word tamyiz, so that's from At-Tafsiru fi Deen, the word tamyiz. وَتَمْيِيزُ الْفِرْقَةِ النَّاجِيَةِ عَنِ الْفِرَقِ الْهَالِكِينَ. And it has the word firaq from Al-Farqu Baynal-Firaq, and it distinguishes the Ahlus-Sunnah Wal-Jamaʿah, the people of the Sunnah and the Jama'ah, from Ahlul-Bidďah Wad-Dalalah. So the title has in it the name of Ahlus-Sunnah Wal-Jama'a, and it has in it one encompassing name for all of those deviant factions, and it's a name that rhymes with the name of the guided faction, the guided sect. So Ahlul-Bidďah Wad-Dalalah, I didn't make that name up, but I find it underused. You might see that word here and there. So I liked to put it into the title because I felt like it's underused and it's nice contrast. So Tamyizu Ahli Sunnati Wal Jama'ah min Firaqi Ahli Al-Bid'ati Wad-Dalalah. Or it's called Tanwirut-Tabsir, means like basically illuminating the book of At-Tafsir, meaning clarifying it. It's clarification, it's clarity for At-Tafsiru fi Deen. I believe that if someone took this here, then At-Tafsiru fi Deen will be clear. And as for giving the book two titles, that's, some scholars did that. I'm copying what some scholars did. They did that. نسأل الجبار المتعال أن نذكر في كل باب ما يحتاج إليه على حد الاقتصار والاعتدال. We ask Allah, Al-Jabbar al-Muta'al, Al-Jabbar al-Muta'al. We ask Allah that we mention what every chapter needs, briefly and objectively, without being long-winded or boring. Masunan min al-ikthari wal-amlal. So that's that. Masunan min al-ikthari wal-amlal. That's briefly, that we mentioned that briefly, protected from ikthar, going on too long, without being long-winded. Masunan min al-ikthar, without being long-winded. Wal-amlal, and without being boring. وَأَلَّا نَخْرُجَ عَمَّا قَصَدَهُ الْمُؤَلِّفُ رَحِمَهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. And that we do not diverge from that for which the original author was aiming. We ask Allah to enable us to stay in compliance with the original author's goal or goals, not to turn this into something else, and not to have a very different style from him also. Not to have a very different style from him, though I wasn't really able to copy his style exactly, which I wouldn't be able to. But sometimes you can copy a style of an author to some extent. take a look at Jalalain. That's authored by two scholars. So if you don't know what you're seeing there, you might not know who's who. If you can get a sense for the author, you can know which part is Suyuti's and which part is Mahalli's. But they're close in style. وَالصِّيَانَةَ مِنَ الْخَطَأِ. May Allah forgive them, or the author. And we ask Allah for protection from mistakes, بِفَضْلِ wa وَتَوْفِيقِهِ, by the generosity of Allah and His granting the compliance. Al-Hadar, Al-Hadar, warning. يذكر في هذا الكتاب كثير من الكفريات والشبه فلا تكفر. This book contains mentioning of many types of blasphemy and confusing cases. Do not blaspheme. Do not exert your mind in rectifying misguidance, and do not indulge in confusion. And that's taken, that warning is inspired from the ayah of the Quran when the angels were teaching the people magic. And they told them, Innama nahnu fitnah. We are a fitnah. Fala takfur. Don't blaspheme. And they're teaching them magic. Though magic is haram, why would they teach them that if it's haram? They taught them that so that they could be educated about it, not so that they would practice it. And now we're going to do something like that. We're going to, kufr is haram, but now we're going to talk about many types of kufr and many cases that if you don't have the right preparation for them, they would be confusing for you. So someone's going to be potentially exposed to danger here. ثم اعلموا أسعدكم الله أن أمر الله تعالى متضمن لمعرفة ما أوجب وما حرم. So know that God's command is inclusive of knowing what He made obligatory and what He forbade. Here we jumped into the author's words. And this isn't exactly where the author started in his original. So a lot of introductory talk of the author was omitted in the summarization process. And here, لِمَعْرِفَةِ مَا أَوْجَبَ وَمَا حَرَّمَ. So know that God's command is inclusive of what He made obligatory and what He forbade. And this is not all exactly what the author said. Some of this is adjusted to be like what Shaykh says. Knowing what He made obligatory and what he forbade. What the author said here is, one might say, weaker than what says here, just what Shaykh says. We have to know what Allah made obligatory and what Allah forbade. That amount is obligatory there. And that's clear statement also. That's a clear statement there. That's not cloudy or has some amount of obscurity in it. حتى إذا اجتمع لمن سعى لذلك وعمل بما علم اكتمل له الإيمان وكان أقرب إلى في الاعتقاد إلى التحقيق والإتقان. When one achieves that and applies his knowledge, his faith becomes perfect. And in conviction, he would have greater accuracy and mastery. When one achieves that, he learns what Allah made forbidden and what He made obligatory. And he applies his knowledge, so he knows it, and he works that like that. He applies his knowledge. His faith becomes perfect. He becomes a perfect believer if he does the obligations and avoids the haram. That's what we learned. And in conviction, he would have greater accuracy and mastery. As a result of being like this, then he's going to be careful about these matters of belief. وأمر عبده تبارك وتعالى بمعرفة ذاته وصفاته وعدله وحكمته وكماله في صفته. And He, the glorified and exalted, commanded His slave to know His self, the self of God, and His attributes, justice, wisdom, His perfection in attribution, وَنُفُوذِ مَشِيئَتِهِ, the fulfillment of his will, وَكَمَالِ مَمْلَكَتِهِ, the absoluteness of his ownership, وَعُمُومِ قُدْرَتِهِ, and the inclusiveness of his power. Here the author, he mentioned some of the attributes of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, some of which we don't learn about them often in our lessons, like his attribute of adl, and his attribute of his justice, and his attribute of hikmah, wisdom. The author mentioned that way in the beginning of the book here. In our usual education from the Shaykh, we don't go into these words so quickly. So right there, you got thrown into some deeper water. But the book is supposed to be an advanced book, so then we're not going to hold back here. وَلَا تَكَامَلُوا وَلَا تَكَامَلُوا, that's تَتَكَامَلُوا with an omitted ta. وَلَا تَكَامَلُ الْمَعْرِفَةُ بِذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ إِلَّا بِنَفْيِ النَّقَائِصِ عَنْهُ وَبِإِثْبَاتِ أَوْصَافِ الْكَمَالِ لَهُ. Such knowledge is deficient without negating faults from him and without confirming the attributes of perfection for him. من غير أن يشوبه شيء من بدع المبتدعين وإلحاد الملحدين, and without one having any pollution of the heretical beliefs of innovating heretics, or the irreligiousness of atheists and blasphemers. So that's not exact verbatim translation, but it's good, inshallah. وَمِمَّا أَوْجَبَ اجْتِنَابُ مَا يُوَسْوَسُ لِكَثِيرٍ مِنَ النَّاسِ مِنَ الشُّبَهِ وَحَبَائِلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. And he forbade entertaining fallacies and lures of the devil that are whispered to many people. That's important, good advice here, to avoid confusion. ليكون إيمان مجتنب ذلك كما أخبر الله تعالى عن إيمان خليل الرحمن, so that one's faith would be like what Allah told of Abraham's faith. حين قال, Abraham who said, إني وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين. Surely I have dedicated myself to he who created heavens and earth as a hanif, averse, disinterested, averse to, disinterested in all invalid religion. وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, and I am not one of the pagans, said Abraham. Allah told us that Abraham said that. وبمثله أقر رسول الله المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام. To similar did Al-Mustafa, the messenger of Allah, concur, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, حين قال تعالى, as God told, إن الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا لست منهم في شيء. Indeed, those Jews and Christians who disunited their religion and became factions, you, Muhammad, are in no way one of them. So these two ayat, they have in them for us what? Sticking to the one correct religion and not breaking into sects. وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ سَبَبَ تَفَرُّقِ الْيَهُودِ مَا ذَكَرَهُ جُمْهُورُ الْمُفَسِّرِينَ. The reason the Jews split is what most interpreters of the Quran have mentioned. أن قوما من بني إسرائيل لما طالت عليهم المدة وقست قلوبهم تكلفوا ووضعوا كتبا كما كانوا يشتهونه. That after time passed on the children of Israel, and their hearts became hard, a society amongst them emerged and published fabricated books as they wished. وَكَانُوا يَدَّعُونَ أَنَّ تِلْكَ الْكُتُبَ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ, and claimed them to be from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. There's ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah that support that. that support that the Jews were publishing books and saying that they are from Allah. I mean, fabricating them or perverting them. وَكَانُوا يَقُولُونَ, they said, إِنَّ مَنْ خَالَفَنَا فِي هَذَا قَتَلْنَاهُ, we shall kill anyone who opposes us. ثُمَّ تَفَكَّرُوا, but on second thought, فَقَالُوا, they said, جَمِيعُ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ لَا يُمْكِنُ قَتْلُهُم, we are unable to kill all of the Israelites. ولكن لبني إسرائيل عالم هو حبرهم فيما بينهم كبير. But they have a big imam who is their rabbi, very influential. Yani, he's Muslim. نعرض ما وضعناه عليه, we shall offer what we have to him. فإن قبله صار من أتباعنا. So I didn't want to leave the word rabbi here. I didn't want to leave that out. I feel like that's going to make someone miss something in the meaning. فَإِنْ قَبِيلَهُ صَارَ مِنْ أَتْبَاعِنَا, if he accepts. So we shall offer what we have to him. If he accepts, he will become our follower. فَإِنْ قَبِيلَهُ صَارَ مِنْ أَتْبَاعِنَا وَإِنْ لَمْ يَقْبَلْهُ قَتَلْنَاهُ حَتَّى يَصِيرَ جَمِيعُ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ تَبَعًا لَنَا. If he does not, we shall kill him and make the children of Israel follow us. فَرَاسَلُوهُ, they summoned him. وَعَلِمَ الرَّجُلُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ, يعني like they contacted him. رَاسَلُوهُ. وَعَلِمَ الرَّجُلُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ, and he knew what they were up to. They summoned him and he knew what they were up to. فكتب كتاب الله في رق رقيق بخط دقيق. He therefore wrote the book of God on very thin paper with very small letters. ووضع ذلك في قرن, and he put that paper in an animal's horn that he made into a necklace. ثم تقلد ذلك القرن ولبس فوقه الثياب. He wore that necklace under his clothing. ثم جاء إليهم, and went to them. فعرضوا عليه ما كان عندهم, they offered to him what they had. ودعوه إلى الإيمان به, and called him to believe in it. فأشار إلى صدره حيث كان ذلك القرن. At that moment he pointed to his chest where the horn was. وقال نعم آمنت بهذا وما لي لا أؤمن به. And he said, I do indeed believe in this. How could I not believe in this? وكان له أصحاب, this imam had followers. كانوا يراعون حاله حتى مات, followers who used to observe him until he died. فوجدوا معه ذلك القرن. When he died, they found that horn on him. فقالوا إنه إنما قال لهذا القرن آمنت به. And they said, this is what he meant. ثم اختلفوا فيه, but the people still differed about him. ووقع الخلاف بسببه في بني إسرائيل, and because of him, disunion befell the children of Israel. حتى صاروا 71 فرقة. And they started splitting until they broke into 71 sects. خيرهم أصحاب القرن, the best of whom followed the scholar with the horn. وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ جَمِيعَ الْيَهُودِ فِي أُصُولِ التَّوْحِيدِ فَرِيقَانِ. Concerning monotheism, the Jews are of two main sects. فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ مُشَبِّهَةٌ, one group is paganistic. وَهُمُ الْأَصْلُ فِي التَّشْبِيهِ, they are the source of comparing God to creations amongst people who claim monotheism. وَكُلُّ مَنْ قَالَ قَوْلًا فِي دَوْلَةِ الْإِسْلَامِ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ التَّشْبِيهِ, anyone in Muhammad's nation who likens God to the creations, فَقَدْ نَسَخَ عَنْ عَلَى مِنْوَالِهِمْ, he came off of their spindle. وَأَخَذَ مَقَالَةً مِّنْ مَقَالِهِمُ الرَّوَافِضِ, some Shiites took directly from the Jews. الفريق الثاني منهم قدرية. The other group of Jews were atheistic. ينكرون الرؤية ويقولون إن الحيوانات يخلقون أفعالهم, believing that they make their own destinies and denying that God can be seen. They say God's speech is created and that all living creatures create their own deeds. Something's missing here. I'll have to fill that in. Looks like I dropped something out. They say God's speech is created and that all living creatures create their own deeds. So I'll have to squeeze that into the Arabic. It is in the Arabic. It's not in, but it's not here. In the original text, I mean. So this helped me, actually. I didn't understand. I used to be confused when I would hear that someone was an atheist, a Jewish atheist, that some Jews are atheists. And I would say to myself, how could a Jew be an atheist? How does that make sense? It's like saying a Christian is an atheist. But doesn't it mean as a Jew that he has a religion in the first place, which is Judaism, and that means he believes in God? So how could he be a Jew and be an atheist? So now it's clear. This is basically like what happened in the nation of Muhammad happened to them. They split. Besides whoever stuck to monotheism properly, they split. They went either to tashbih or ta'til and became like mushabbihah or mu'tazila. And those are the two most dangerous sects. The God comparers and the mu'tazila, mushabbihah and mu'tazila, are the two worst sects in Islam. وعلى الجملة فجميع اليهود في أصل الدين فريقان. Generally, all Jews are of two groups concerning prophethood, that is. Generally, all Jews are of two groups concerning prophethood. قوم منهم ينكرون نبوة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وقوم لا ينكرون. Some who deny Muhammad's prophethood صلى الله عليه وسلم, and some who do not. بل يقولون إنه كان نبيا. Rather, they say he was indeed a prophet. ولكن كان مبعوثا إلى العرب دون العجم. But only to the Arabs. وهم العيسويون يكونون بأصفهان. Those are the Isawiyya of Asfahan, Iran, the followers of a Jew named Abu Isa. So there's a Jewish community out there until now. There's Jews out there. We might not hear about them though. I looked on Google to see if I find some information, and I did. And so there's a lot of them out there. And maybe these ones will be the army of Dajjal. Yeah, we could assume that who's going to be the army of Dajjal. We know Dajjal has an army of Jews he's going to have, Yani. So we might assume that's whom so-called Israel. But could be these, because it's reported that Dajjal comes out of Asfahan in the first place. According to some reports, this is where he's first going to appear when he gets off of his island. But also, we know that Prophet Isa, he's going to slay Dajjal in Palestine. So Allah knows, maybe these Jews are all going to link up. Maybe they're going to link up. Allah knows. I don't know. I never heard. I'm just imagining. أما النصارى فكانوا متمسكين بدين عيسى عليه السلام بعدما رفع إلى السماء 31 سنة. Concerning the Nazarenes, they were properly holding fast to the Islamic law of Jesus for 31 years after he was raised to the sky. وكانوا يجرون على الاستقامة إلى أن وقع بينهم وبين اليهود حرب. Until a war broke out between them and the Jews. For 31 years, they were following They were holding fast to the Islamic law of Jesus for 31 years after he was raised to the sky until a war broke out between them and the Jews. وَكَانَ فِي الْيَهُودِ رَجُلٌ اسْمُهُ بُولُس. One Jew was Paulus, قَتَلَ مِنْهُمْ مَقْتَلَةً عَظِيمَةً, who had massacred many Nazarenes. ثُمَّ قَالَ لِلْيَهُودِ. He once said to the Jews, he delivered a speech, إِنْ كَانَ قَوْمُ عِيسَى عَلَى الْحَقِّ وَنَحْنُ قَدْ كَفَرْنَا بِهِمْ يَكُونُ عَلَيْنَا غَبْنٌ عَظِيمٌ. If the people of Jesus are upon the truth, and we have disavowed their religion, we shall face a great loss. فَإِنَّهُمْ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ وَنَحْنُ نَدْخُلُ النَّارِ. For they will be in heaven and we will be in hell. وَلَكِنِّي أَحْتَالُ حِيلَةً حَتَّى أُفْسِدَ عَلَيْهِمْ دِينَهُمْ. But do not worry, I have devised a scheme to ruin their religion. وَكَانَ لَهُ فَرَسٌ اسْمُهُ عِقَابٌ. He hamstrung his war horse, torture. وَكَانَ يُقَاتِلُ عَلَيْهِ فَقَامَ وَعَقَرَ ذَلِكَ الْفَرَسِ وَأَظْهَرَ النَّدَمَ عَلَى مَا كَانَ مِنْهُ. And he displayed guilt for what he had done. وَنَثَرَ التُّرَابَ عَلَى رَأْسِهِ. He threw dirt upon his head. ثُمَّ جَاءَ إِلَى النَّصَارَى مُتَنَدِّمًا بِظَاهِرِهِ. And went to the Nazarenes giving a performance of remorse. So sometimes the English and the Arabic don't match to make the English a way of explaining what's in Arabic, although it could have been translated more exactly, but for some meaning, inshallah. But also sometimes it's possible to translate the English with fewer words than, and you could translate the Arabic literally one way, but you could say it in English an easier way. In fact, for me, one way I gauge the strength of an Arabic sentence sometimes is if I can make an English sentence that's more concise. If I can make an English sentence that's more concise than an Arabic sentence, I would think that the Arabic sentence could be improved. Because we should be able to make an Arabic sentence that the English sentence cannot match its concision. فَقَالُوا لَهُ مَنْ أَنْتَ. They said, who are you? فَقَالَ أَنَا بُولُس. He said, I am Paulus. كُنْتُ أَشَدَّ عَدُوٍ لَكُمْ. I was your worst enemy. وَلَكِنِّي سَمِعْتُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ نِدَاءً. Until I heard a call from the sky. أَنَّ تَوْبَتَكَ لَا تُقْبَلُ إِلَّا أَن تَتَنَصَّرَ. Paulus, your repentance shall not be accepted until you embrace the religion of the Nazarenes. فَالْآنَ تُبْتُ وَرَجَعْتُ إِلَىٰ دِينِكُمْ. So now I have repented and I have resorted to your religion. فَأَكْرَمُوهُ وَأَدْخَلُوهُ كَنِيسَتَهُمْ فَلَازَمَ بَيْتًا مِنْ بُيُوتِهِمْ وَلَمْ يَخْرُجْ مِنْهُ لَيْلًا وَلَا نَهَارًا حَتَّى تَعَلَّمَ الْإِنْجِيلَ. They were happy and they took him into their church, their Muslim place of worship. There he stayed in one of the houses, not coming out night or day until he memorized the Injeel. The Arabic says ta'allama, until he learned the Injeel. And I learned by talaqqi, not while taking this book though, but I heard from Shaykh that he memorized the Injeel. ثُمَّ خَرَجَ وَقَالَ. Then he came out and said, سَمِعْتُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِنَّ تَوْبَتَكَ قَدْ قُبِلَتْ. I heard from the sky, Paulus, your repentance has been accepted. وَإِنَّ صِدْقَكَ قَدْ عُرِفْ. And your honesty is known. وَإِنَّكَ قَدْ أُحْبِبْتَ وَقُبِلْتَ. And you became beloved and approved ثم خرج إلى بيت المقدس. He then went to Jerusalem. واستخلف رجلا من نسطور, and left behind a man named Nestor, or from Nestor, according to some copies of At-Tabsir. A man named Nestor, يعني استخلف رجلا اسمه Nestor. He left behind him a man named Nestor, min Nestor, or a man from Nestor. وعلمه أن عيسى ومريم والإله كانوا ثلاثة. He taught him that Jesus, Mary, and God were three in one. ثم خرج إلى الروم. Then he went to Rome. وعلمهم اللاهوت والناسوت, and taught the merger of God and man. وقال لهم إن عيسى لم يكن ناسا ثم صار ناسا, and that Jesus was not a man and then became a man. ولم يكن جسما ثم صار جسما, and that he was not flesh, then he became flesh. You know, the word jism means body. So it looks like it says he was not a body and then he became a body. But just out of being familiar with how the Christians talk, I put the word flesh here instead of body. And that he was not flesh, then he became flesh. وَكَانَ ابْنَ اللَّهِ, and that he is the Son of God. وَعَلَّمَ يَعْقُوبَ هَذَا الْقَوْلِ, he taught a man named Jacob this. ثُمَّ دَعَى رَجُلًا كَانَ اسْمُهُ مَلْكَاء, then he summoned a man named Malka, maybe it means Malachi. وَقَالَ لَهُ إِنَّ الْإِلَهَ الَّذِي لَمْ يَزَلْ وَلَا يَزَالُ هُوَ عِيسَى, and told him that the God who is and always shall be is Jesus. ثُمَّ دَعَى كُلَّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمْ مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ الثَّلَاثَةِ, then he summoned each of the three. That's the way, yani. What's the rule in Arabic? The rule in Arabic is the old Arabs used to, if they said something, then they said what they meant to say. So if I assume here that the author didn't say something he didn't mean to say, and that he said exactly what he meant to say, then, because, why I'm saying this, because for the most part, we just read this book. We read it. Shaykh Abdul Rahman, he didn't stop to elaborate for us every sentence. So if I assume that the author here, he's saying exactly what he wanted to say, and he wasn't saying something that could be misconstrued, or he wanted to say it one way, but he just said it a way that could be taken another way. He said here, ثُمَّ دَعَى كُلَّ وَاحِدٍ, he summoned each one of them, each individual one of them. Means not that he said all three, hey, you guys, come to me. Rather, he said, hey, you, come to me. And then he said to the other one, hey, you, come to me. And he said to the other one, you, come to me. Then he summoned each of the three. وَقَالَ لَهُ here. And he said to him, each one individually, one by one. And he said to each, أَنْتَ صَاحِبِي خَالِصًا, you, singular, you are my most devoted disciple. وَإِنِّي أُرِيدُ أَنْ أُفْضِيَ إِلَيْكَ سِرًّا, and I want to expose a secret to you. قَدْ رَأَيْتُ عِيسَى عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ الْبَارِحَةَ فِي الْمَنَامِ, I have indeed seen Jesus in my dream yesterday, may peace be upon him. وَكَانَ رَاضِيًا عَنِّي, and he was accepting of me. فَيَنْبَغِي أَلَّا تَرْجِعَ عَنْ نِحْلَتِكَ بِحَالٍ, therefore you must never abandon this religion of yours. وَأَلَّا تَتْرُكَ نِحْلَتَكَ هَذِهِ وَتَدْعُوَ الْخَلْقَ إِلَيْهَا, and you must call the creations to it. وَإِنِّي أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَتَقَرَّبَ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى بِقُرْبَانٍ لِرِضَاهُ عَنِّي, and I want to do the ultimate sacrifice to show my appreciation of God's acceptance of me. أذبح نفسي قربانا. I shall sacrifice myself. And right there, when he told somebody that, what's this guy going to be saying to himself? Yeah, I imagine someone who's hearing that. This guy saying, I'm going to go kill myself. Wouldn't he say in himself, isn't that haram? What's going to happen, though, when you're dealing with someone who has manipulated you like this? You're not going to say anything. ثم قام ودخل المذبح وذبح نفسه. Then he got up, went to the sacrificial chamber, and slit his own throat. فلما كان اليوم الثالث من وفاته. On the third day after his death, قام كل واحد من أولئك الثلاثة. Each of his three disciples got up. ودعا الناس إلى نحلته. Got up to call the people to his religion. وتبع كل واحد منهم جماعة من الناس. And each had followers. وكانوا يتقاتلون فيما بينهم. Since their beginning, they were in dispute and they constantly fought and disagreed. وبقي بينهم ذلك الخلاف ولم يزالوا يختلفون حتى بلغ عدد فرقهم مثل ما نطق به الخبر المروي في هذا الباب. And they constantly fought and disagreed until they became 72 factions. So the English here is much less than the Arabic here. There's a little bit more in the Arabic, but I think it's fine. But if you have any suggestions, by the way, since you see the Arabic and English, if you can tell what's different between them and you have a suggestion, feel free, please. وَكَانَ مَذْهَبُهُمْ مَذْهَبَ أَصْحَابِ الْهَيُولَى. Their religion incorporated the idea of hayal, an original eternal material that has changing qualities. Yani, hayal is from philosophy. It's the belief in something eternal that's not in a place, but it's still a substance. It's some stuff, basically. Hayal is, according to them, some eternal stuff. It's always fluctuating and changing. It's the origin of the world. So, you ever heard of how some people believe, and they teach this in grade school, they believe that all this material around us was always existing. It's just now in a form that it wasn't in previously. And the forms of things that we see now, let's say here, I have here laptop and table and bookshelf, etc., and bike, etc., etc. According to them, all these things, they will themselves eventually go out of their forms by decomposition, for example, but then just be reincorporated into this world and then reappear in some other form. So that's the idea of hayal. But their take on this hayal was that there was one original God. So that's the eternal stuff. And three derivative personalities. That's the change that goes with the eternal stuff. وَكَانُوا فِي بَعْضِ دِينِهِمْ مَعَ الْيَهُودِ. They took some of their religion from the Jews. وَفِي بَعْضِهِ مَعَ النَّصَارَى. And some from the Nazarenes. وَابْتَدَعُوا مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِهِمْ أُمُورًا كَثِيرَةً تُخَالِفُ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ. And they innovated much from themselves that goes against both of those other groups. And let's stop there.